Hey everyone, this is Josh, and I hate the current system. In fact, I've made it my life goal to take down the military-industrial complex. And I've been doing it a while with no help, and I realize I'm on a solo mission, and I'm doing it with or without the help of anyone. But I have a plan, and one that's going to work. And I'll share it with you now. Are you ready? Now, actually, this used to be how I thought. And I know there's a lot of people still in the circles. I've listened in on the talks, and there's still a lot of these viewpoints. This is a world view. So coming from there, now I see things a little differently. And I want to dive first, before we get into the details, I want to dive into the energy and the worldview and help us all align in a place from being as far as we can away, like an intentional community, to using the system, to working with what's currently there, salvaging what's left, and transmuting and transforming that into a world that we all want to be a part of. One that's so fun that even the military will drop their weapons and come join. All right, so how do we get from here to here? Now, I have a little chart I want to share with you guys. And it's right here. And this is called a judgment diagram. So here's my viewpoint. This is coming from me, from my viewpoint. And here's how it looks. The current system is too controlling. To me, the current system is too abusive, it's toxic, corrupt, unfair, and limiting. Now, when I say limiting, to me, it's the fact that 70% of the world still lives on less than $10 a day. And we don't have access to reaching our full potential. And this is one of the things that really pisses me off about the current system is I really stand for teenagers, and they're getting ready to move into the rest of their life and they don't have access. And it's really disheartening, and they give up and they go get a job at the shoe store. So let's move on. That's what I mean by limiting. The financial system, having to set up corporate entities, all the checks and balances, all the money being sucked out of the system. It's very limiting. Now, that's not me. I'm not controlling. I stand for being allowing. I'm not abusive. In fact, I stand for being kind. I'm not toxic, but I stand for being healthy. Corrupt? Nope. Honest. Unfair? Fair. Limiting? Empowered. So here's me, allowing, kind, healthy, honest, fair, and empowered. Obviously, I want to get as far away as I can from the current system, right? So let's just give the system a chance. What if the system were here? I said, you're too controlling. I stand for being allowing. So yeah, you are. You're allowing, but you're too unstructured. Yeah, well, you're abusive. I'm kind. Yeah, you're kind, but you're too weak. I'm healthy, but unrealistic. Honest. Yeah, but naive. Fair. And idealistic. Empowered. Yeah, but you're unresourced. So these are the judgments I might get for standing for being kind, honest, fair. I might, oh, you're naive, you're idealistic, you're weak. Right? Okay, so if the system were here and I said, you're too controlling, I stand for being allowing. Say, no, I'm not controlling. Actually, I stand for being structured. Yeah, well, you're too abusive. No, I stand for being efficient. Well, you're toxic. I'm healthy. No, I'm not toxic. I stand for being realistic. You're corrupt. No, I stand for being powerful. Yeah, but you're unfair. Actually, I stand for giving opportunity. Yeah, but you're limiting. Actually, I stand for being secure. So this is the system according to, let's just say, those that see the good in the system, okay, that see what it's actually here to do for us, standing for, how we're able to use it. It's structured, efficient, powerful, gives opportunity, secure, realistic. And you'll see these are very male dominant characteristics, but these can be used. Now, if we see it as the top left, which I get it. I've been there. I grew up being abused, living in unfair environments. I've seen it. I've been there. And it's our job to take this last opportunity as the trains go in different directions, to be able to take the system and transmute it and be able to use it. So we all know that we have to fund our companies at this moment. Any of us that's saying that we don't, but they're flying around, going to festivals, going to events, but they'd say that money's not important still, is saying one thing and doing another, okay? So let's just start from there. And let's say that we can work with the system to create impact. So how do we do that when we have a very big problem still? And the problem is this. The problem is that we have the solutions. We're building the solutions. We're sharing the solutions. We have our villages. We have our cities. We have our currencies. We have our new systems being built. But the current system doesn't adopt them. In fact, more than adopt them, many times special interests thwart progress of solutions being implemented. And so the current financial system is not built for solutions. It's built for power, greed, competition. And a lot of us actually not just are thwarted, but we're getting, some of us are getting sucked in. And so this is where this speech comes in, okay? Now I want to give you some case examples. I have some friends and they own some companies. Quantify is one of them. And what it is it's a 5G alternative. And it's been around for a while. The guy who invented it from his van. And it is better than 5G. It's safer by a far, far, far cry. And it works. I've seen it in real life. It's been proven. Now, the guy who invented it, the military police confiscated his vehicle, all the equipment, and locked him up in the military police headquarters in the jail. And we tried to get him out, of course, because, they said he was crazy and, what are we going to do? And now he's dead. And same with this engine over here. The guy that I knew, he was with his family, his wife and kids, 2 kids, on the run, hiding because he had death threats, because he was helping build a new technology. Now, if you want more of these stories, of course, you can go to Thrive 2 and just see all the people that have, and this is real stuff. Like I said, I personally know these people. Many of us know these people. We've heard the story of Tesla. This is none of this is made up. So the system is thwarting solutions, literally coming in and killing people because they're solutionaries. And we at this conference are solutionaries. So how do we not get involved and how do we make it through this for the first time without this happening? Right? That's our big question, I think. Now, on the top right, you'll see these giant crystals. Now, a friend of mine who I work with has 18,000 acres in Brazil with crystal mountains, bigger than the ones in these photos. Now, what happened is the computer companies came and hired people to come in with dynamite to blow up the crystals. This is a cosmic antenna on his land, to blow the crystals up, to harvest and bring them back to put in computers. Now, obviously, he's there stewarding and protecting this land. It's a reserve. You can't do that. So he had to get the police, the military involved, and people got hurt. But that's what is happening in the world. He had to fight the president off. He's got 7 rivers. They're the mouth of the Amazon River. And of course, the government wants to come in. They know that this is prize land and put in all the hydropower stations. And he had to fight them off with no money. So sadly, he's at the point of having to sell the land, because the dream of building a futuristic city is, without money and without Brazil's investment banks being able to participate in any fashion with funding it. We're land rich and cash poor, but we're selling that, or potentially building it. We have a little bit to pay off. We may still move forward. We'll see. If anybody is interested, contact me. Now, let's look at one of these solutions that I worked with. This is a 3D house printing. And it's going to save time, energy, money, everything, and just build these houses. Amazing technology. And I used to do business plan funding, anything that would go into a green city, usually 20 million and over. And this is one of the business plans that I was looking at funding. And I was thinking to myself one day, as this jumps on my desk, I'm like, I really love this idea and I'm really excited about it. So I call the guy and I'm like, hey, can we put sustainable material in this? And he's like, no, I just want to, burn and turn. I just put concrete in it. Let's get it funded. And I realized I'm going to get this funded, and the 1%ers, the Chinese, the special interests are going to come in, make all the money off it. This guy will get paid out, and they're going to make all the money from now on for all the houses that are being built worldwide, one company, one person, and all the construction workers are going to be out of work. Yes, I've made a great solution, but I've made more off balance. If this company were to distribute its funds or have some sort of shared funding pool that actually encompassed a community to move forward, expand, and so forth, and keep going and keep growing, then I could be for it. So that's when I decided that I'm going to stop funding things until I find a new way of doing business. So here's the actual solution. Well, not yet. So we're still in the problem. This is the traditional system as we know it. Workers on the bottom, stockholders on the top. Workers do all the work, and get paid very little. The stockholders do nothing and get paid all the profits. Why is this system completely backwards? You get paid for what you don't do, and you don't get paid for what you do. That's backwards. You should get paid for what you do and not get paid for what you don't do. That's a true equanimity system built on equanimity, equanimous system. So this is the same with LLCs, with everything. You have the owners up top and you have the workers on the bottom. We need to transform the way we're doing business. So let's look at how, and I want to mention that always the economy that you're working within and the distribution channels that you're working within your economy and how that works, and the organizational structure. In this case, we're talking about a governance, because that's the big organizational structure in the big economy that we're looking at. The money comes in and it gets distributed down to people that are underneath. The decisions come in and they get told to the people underneath. It's the same exact graph, and it's always like this. Now, in the system that's based on tribal economics, oops, let me go back here just a sec. Right there we go. The system that's based on tribal economics, okay? And what is tribal economics? Tribal economics is how we've always had economies. We help each other build our houses. We help each other. The economic system, the total sum of your economy is your trees, your houses. That doesn't change no matter how much you inflate the dollars. That just is a way to rip people off. Okay, so you've got an economy no matter what. That's an economy. You can't change that. You can only look at how you're distributing wealth. That's all you can do in an economy. You can steal from other people. That's another thing you can do in the current economy, but not in tribal economics. It's the most pure economic system that will always work, that we've lived on for thousands of years. There will never be a better system. The current system is a wreck, as you see. There's thousands of teachings and schools on how to deceive people about money. Everybody is focused on the golden sheep, the money. You know, it's their whole lives are about this. It's a cult of sorts. So tribal economics eliminates all those problems. You'll never have prostitution, because if you're in a contribution access economy, there's nothing that you have to force someone to do something you want. You do it based on honor. Okay, I'll get to this. So let's look at the structure and how they match. These 6 circles represent an access economy, represent teams, projects. So let's say one of them is a housing project and they build houses, one's cars, one's food, etc. Now they have these products they're building, and they're giving access to each other. They're not saying we own this house, we give you access, you pay us money. They're saying we give you access, we get access to the cars. This is a whole living system. This is when everyone's sharing in everything. This is an ideal situation based on tribal economics, okay, of an access economy in its pure form. Now, of course, we're still getting there. But once again, the economy doesn't change. Whether you're using money or your resources and you're giving access, the only thing that changes is the taxes, the way you're organized, and all that money that's getting sucked out when you use the old system. That's the only difference. Now, on the right, you'll see an ethos. Now, what is an ethos? It's a new paradigm Tao, a teal paradigm Tao, that fits into whole living systems, which is a key cornerstone of the teal paradigm. If you don't have whole living systems, you're not moving towards the teal paradigm, which is based on biomimicry, and we're mimicking whole living systems. So you can imagine this being a whole living system. Emergent, thriving, holonic organizational structure, an ethos. They're designed to not only give you a Tao structure, but to self-organize into whole living systems, work with the access economy so we can distribute funds through our system, like the blood in our veins. And these teams are set up similar to the other ones in a way. We've got the teams and we've got the people around them working on them. On the outside, we have the universal agreement field. This is the boundary of agreements. You're either eating GMO food or you're not. If you have an agreement to not bring GMO food in the community and you bring it in, that's a very clear boundary. Okay, so we have a very clear organizational boundary, a very clear set of agreements. Inside, you've got another set of agreements. Everything's an agreement, by the way. And I'm not saying a rule or a law. I'm saying an agreement. If you don't agree to the master plan when you come in, what we call a gen plan, if you don't agree to that in the very beginning, by consensus, a whole body yes, full understanding, competent, coherent, then you don't do it. If you do it, then you've signed up for that. And that's what you've signed up for. So we're making business plans transparent. We're making organizational systems transparent. And it takes both of these, as I'll explain later, for success. Now, these teams share in the middle here another agreement field in which helps them all operate together. So we're gonna look at a whole system. And you'll see in the bottom, one organizational model and a shared economy and shared resources. This is critical. Imagine a flashlight, all right? The parts connected and working together. The arrangement of the pieces is crucial. This is from the Kenning Associates booklet. It's a geeky whole systems design manual, but it's got some amazing things in it. And imagine a flashlight. Imagine the battery saying, I don't want to give energy to anyone else, just me. I don't want to lose all this energy and run out. And that the whole thing wouldn't work, right? So you're going to have shared resources, or it's not considered a whole system. It's a heap of parts. You get a bunch of organizations working together. That's not an ecosystem. It's not a whole system. You've got a collection of parts. That's it. You can take pieces out, change them, and nothing will change. So we're building whole living systems, one organizational model. Can you imagine if the flashlight was organized differently? It wouldn't work. It would be another whole living system. And those do have to be organized in the right way or it won't work. So these models can't just be, oh, we're going to just do whatever we want. It's like building a car from scratch with no manual. Most of these organizations out there, be very, very, very careful in detail of what they're sharing with you, building, giving, doing, because you got a lot of, and I don't want to be, what do you call it? Not racist, but biased against young people. But you got a lot of young people that come in, they don't know even how to build a car. They've never even done it. There's no manual, and they want to do it all on their own. Take the little bit of information they have and run with it. This is a problem with the modern man. We've got people wanting to take the ball and run with it. This is not whole living systems. This is not a modern tribal culture. Now, I learned from Javier Francisco Ortiz, an amazing man who created a sustainable Costa Rica by 2021 with the elders and the government. And as we made an agreement, he said, yes, let's agree to create this modern tribal culture, but I want to stay in communication about everything, every step with you. This was my first lesson about tribal mentality and moving together as a tribe. Our organizational models that we've built fit that. And we hope that you'll investigate more. Now, see, there's a heap of parts here on this picture. And we've got a ball of string and we've got these guys chained up. Does anyone know what these pictures have in common? Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you. They're all talking about and based on the definition of bonding. Okay, this guy with the glue gun is bonding these things together. These guys on the middle bottom are bonded to their master, not only in chains. The word bonding, I'm bound, but they're also through contract bonded to this guy. And this gets into how do we exit a debt-based system. So we've covered tribal economics, new forms of governments, and now how do we exit a debt-based system? And once again, this is a very brief overview of these things. There can be so much more detail in each one. But I'm going to give you some keys in exiting a debt-based system. Obviously, I can't give them to all of you now, but this is the biggest one. Energetically, not binding ourselves, bonding ourselves, gluing ourselves, and sticking ourselves to the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the banks. Now, if a bank wants to loan us money and we're able to pay that back because we have a good business plan, great. But remember, an organizational model, which is what I'm showing you guys, and a good business plan are not the same thing. You can be organized amazingly, perfectly, and not have a good business plan and fail. So when you have a good business plan, you can take a loan, okay? Because you can pay that back. So don't bond yourself to low energies, teammates that you have lifelong contracts with, and they're not in alignment. They're going out of the agreement fields that you saw, and they're going to pull you out. And if you have a weird contract, a very vague contract that's just bound together, glued together, and that's it, it's a blood contract, and you're stuck with that, and you're going to fail. So if they're out of alignment, now there's the lucky case that you both flow good together and you figure it out when something happens. Of course, that can happen. But when you get to scale and you get to many people, it gets very dynamically more complicated. So what structures can you use to bind and not bind? So I've got the big no equity there. Do not take equity. You're binding yourself to life, to somebody. Once again, if it's a Rockefeller and their energy is, and they're just trying to take things down and suck energy out, you are not going to hold a retreat and transform that person if they even show up. It's not going to happen. So best to not bind yourself to somebody in the first place so you can move free. We want to enter the energetic superhighway, and we can't bring along dead weight. So this is with teammates and with money, right? Here's the structures, and this talks about how we're bonding ourselves. So what you can take, philanthropy, it's a gift. Time banking are amazing laws. Look at these. Of course, does anybody know what time banking is? It's where you exchange time, and it's under the help your neighbor law. It'll always be around. It's tribal economics, but it's not very attractive to people because once again, they want to suck money from somewhere else and put it in their bank account, a bunch. And I'm not saying we can't do that. I'm not saying we can't, but in the pure system, you turn it into resources and everyone can use and access those. You don't put it in someone's personal bank account and then go give it back to Monsanto, and just hide it and control everything. Then nothing will change. So time banking, how many people would use a time bank? It's not very attractive. It still isn't. I mean, you may have your hand raised, but how many people are using them? I don't think it's the same amount. Now, the Queen of England owns 1/6 of the world's landmass. 1/6. One person. Now it's the king. Now, how many people, if this person said, okay, we're rebuilding the collective commons, I know I've harnessed and taken it out of the collective commons, all this wealth, all this land, all these everything, buildings, businesses, and I'm giving it all back. You all can access it, start running it on your own, and let's rebuild the world in a new way. How many of you guys would get in there and no strings attached? Here's all the resources you need. Of course we would. We would go in there and say, awesome, amazing. Now we all have access. We can all live our dreams. This is what we're trying to do without the 1%ers helping. Okay. This is what we're trying to do on our own because they've set up a system that's sucking and extracting to an amazing degree. And we have to do it on our own. Now, once again, if you have a system that's funneling money in and rebuilding the collective commons, then you say, well, hey, would I contribute and get reciprocated not only in, let's just say, fiat currency, but also in access to everything I ever wanted, true wealth, happiness, purpose, joy, passion, everything I ever wanted? Of course we would. It's much more attractive. So the word time bank, I want to let you know, in the current system where there is no collective commons and we're not organized, sounds terrible. But in a new system of contribution, it wouldn't be called time bank, it'd be called a contribution system. It can be something that provides us a ton of honor, and we move out of the fear and the controlling energies around the fiat currency. Now, it's much more dynamic than just these words, time bank and contribution. So it's another talk. Crowdfunding. We can take crowdfunding. We can raise money together through loans. Once again, if you loan something, that's okay, as long as that can get paid off. And then you're free of debt. We're exiting a debt-based system. We're exiting the bonds. We're releasing. None of these have the bonds. So when we want to switch organizational structures to a foreign trust or a soul corp or whatever this is, we can do that because we're not bound. When we want to reorganize someone into an ethos, if they're bound up too much, we can't work with them. We have to literally, it's so much more work to cut off the investors that are there for profit and reorganize the IP. It's a mess. Loans, you can take a loan and you can take pre-sales or collateral, which will help you get your loan. These are all things, the collateral, you can do it. But once again, if you have land and you start building it, you'll never fail. If you take pre-sales or collateral, pre-sales are better because it's a chance you're not going to fail. Collateral, you have a bad business plan, you're still going to fail. All right. I'm hoping this is helping you guys, because a lot of people I'm seeing today are getting involved in equity, and they see a big dollar sign and they sell their soul for a jelly roll. And this is my whole point of my conversation, is I want you guys to get that we really have to switch how we're organizing and how we're dealing with our own energy, including how we participate with those around us. Now, this is not a picture of my friend, but I have a friend who, she's sitting there. She just got divorced, about 30 years of divorce, and she needs to move in a new way. It's an opportunity for her to move in a new way. She's new paradigm centered, and she needs to move forward with her life. Her husband's not able to grow with her. So she decides, it's raining out. I'm going to go out, sit in the mud and cry and get this out until it's all gone. So she goes out for 8+ hours and just bawls her eyes out until she's completely over it. She got up, came back, got some tea, went to a friend's house, and was energetically able to move on. She had a clean, clear slate. When you're at nothing, you can create anything. When you have all these attachments and past things attached to you, bonded to you, you can't create anything. You're not able to reach your full potential. And this happens when we grab at each other and we try to bring each other down too. So this is energetically how to reach the super energetic superhighway. And when someone walks into your village and they see this amazing energy that's clean and clear, that's what's going to sell it. It's not the big, pretty buildings, I promise you. So in summary, these are some hints I want to give you guys. Create a shared funding pool. I don't want to work with people that don't have that. This is a critical aspect when we build ethos for people, that you create a shared funding pool first. Gather your team of champions. If you are not champions, do the work. If you are a champion and those around you aren't, then have them do the work and wait, be patient, stay in your joy, be discerning, and do whatever you need to do to, and the last one, this is going to solve that. Moving into a new paradigm situation. Move into the new paradigm. There's a few organizations out there. There's the Synergy Hub Universal Residencies. You can sell your home in the old paradigm and buy one where you can travel around the new paradigm for the rest of your life. And there's Cohere Network, similar. So these are traveling, moving, new paradigm, unbonded organizations that are creating a distributed network of actual housing, living locations that are each catered with their own energy, their own matching, their own synergistic alignment that you can go into through some processes. In the case of the Synergy Hub Universal Residencies, I'm not sure about Cohere yet, but I think that they've also adopted some similar practices. So get educated, move into the new paradigm, or get educated. If you don't know what that is, if you're still unclear, take the education. We offer some, but we're still working to revamp that. We're looking, that might be a few months out, to really get our commercial product in that regard. And that's it.